Okay, so, hello guys, it's me, Gaming Star here, and today I am back in an episode of The Greatest Attorney to Resolve. Last time we had basically done the first two we have basically done the part 2 of the trial, and yeah, so this time we're gonna go ahead and do the final part of this episode investigation. Of course, the case itself, in actuality, is not actually over, but this is gonna be the final part of the investigation. The episode itself is gonna be over in this episode, but it's still gonna keep going. It's complicated. Okay, let's go. I still can't quite believe what just happened. I know. I inquired with the bailiff if the court session was adjourned, and it seems Mr. Vigil was taken to hospital to recover. Right. 10 years ago now, Mr. Vigil attempted to commit suicide by jumping out the window of the prison governor's office. But ever since then, he's completely blocked the memory of those events from his mind. I fucked my popcorn. Nobody knew his secret. Not his family. Not even the man himself. But I forced it out into the open. Was it wrong of me to do that? Did I overstep the mark? I wonder. Bruno! Oh, Edie's. You were miles away anyway. I brewed a fresh pot of soothing tea for you. Oh, thank you. You and Cece have had an exhausting day so far, haven't you? Oh. This could be the final normal investigation of the entire game. Then after this, we are going to have another investigation. But it's going to be very, very short. So, no deduction. There is a deduction here. Thoughtful of you. It's really weird. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is? When we came out of the room back in the defendant's antechamber, he disappeared. Oh, no, I don't know. He just suddenly sprang into his feet and left. All he said was, I must leave. Well, it's going to be a second last deduction in this case, so, you know, we're going to have another deduction, like, great deduction later, but that's going to be the basically the last, you know, like, second to last one. Mystery of Inspector Gregson stuff. Well, you know, really saying, don't you? There are mysteries in this world that should perhaps never be solved. That's true. For the construction of solution comes only at the expense of the destruction of something else. What does that mean? He knows very well when you open someone else's old wounds, you often open your own too. But he just can't take his own advice and leave well alone. Solving mysteries is too important to him. That's so true. But that's what I like about Hurley after all. I suppose that's a lot of great detective in some way. So then, let's have a tea. And I'll give you a hand. Oh, do you have time, ladies? Yes, I finished this month's manuscript at last, with barely a day to spare before the deadline. Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. Brandy's story of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You know, I've always had Hurley's violin in the days before I have a deadline. You do? Oh, poor Mr. Holmes. I'm sure it's very wise, Edie's. How sensible of you. Now then, my dear fellows, let's make a plan before we continue investigation. Let's talk. Alright, let's do some talking. This morning's trial. Oh, what a crazy one. So how did the court this morning go? Well, we still don't know the truth about what really happened, but one thing is increasingly clear. Lord Van Zeke's definitely didn't do it, that's for sure. Oh, goody. That part's true. Yes, that's right, but we don't know who yet. We managed to uncover several new facts as well. Oh, really? And there was another development too. Karuma. Yes, it's quite clear now that Kazuma-sama is not himself. The way he's acting, it's almost as if he's possessed. I know. I mean, at the end of the proceedings earlier, he was like a bloodhound of the way he was chasing down Mr. Vigil's forgotten past. He's not normally so mercilessly persistent. What's going on in his head, I wonder? I really need to sit down with Kazuma and try to understand what's going through his head. The Reaper's innocence. If Gregson really was murdered the day before his body was discovered, then Lord Van Zeke's tooth has to be innocent, you see. What? The day before? Well, that should be easy to work out just by examining the corpse, surely. Yes, you would expect so, but curiously, no time of death was included in the autopsy report. That's curious. There are still unanswered questions about Lord Van Zeke's, though, aren't there? Ah, do you mean? I mean, what was he doing there in Frenzo Street on that day in the first place? Yeah, that is a question. Well, according to the man's testimony, he said he was investigating Inspector Gregson, didn't he? But why? And it turns out the little room was actually Inspector's secret office. Oh, that sounds like he was making a wonderful devilish plot. But then, Webs' notice board that was covered in those particular papers. papers about the cases that link to the Reaper. I'm starting to get a bad feeling about all this. Oh dear, this sounds more like something horribly devilish. We must start by looking into Inspector Gregson's movements late. Gregson's movements. What was Gregson even doing? You generally have to wonder. I never imagined I thought of investigating Inspector's movements. Well, according to the entry's diary, he was carrying out an incognito investigation of the Red-Headed League on the day before his death. Oh, you mean he was doing the same as Hurley? Well, Mr. Sholmes was trying to apply, whereas Inspector was supposed to be investigating. I do wish it had to be the other way around. Anyway, as it turns out, the Inspector who went to investigate the Red-Headed League that day wasn't actually Gregson at all, it was Mr. Vigil in possession of Gregson's identification card. That sounds like to me. Establishing an alibi. Oh my, yes, you're absolutely right, Edie's. But why would Gregson need an alibi? Okay, that is weird. It would appear that the Inspector had something to do with what he wished to keep secret. I don't believe it. I thought he always just harmless lover of fish and chips. Why is it highlighted in red? Perhaps they were seasoned with something a little more potent as salt and vinegar. Why is it highlighted in red? That's kind of concerning. I think perhaps we should try to move away from food analogies. Well, anyway, if Lord Van Zink's felt they need to investigate Gregson. Yes, I agree. We must try to find out what he knows. Mr. Vigil's condition. Vigil, you say? Isn't that the name of the lady who came to visit Hurley yesterday? Yes, his wife. That's right, to ask Mr. Sholmes if you could help her find her missing husband. Why, Mr. Sholmes completely passed the buck to us. Actually, didn't you say that Mr. Vigil had been taken to a hospital? Do you know which one? Ah, it's St. Sinners. Oh my god, same hospital. I'm starting to wonder if all the other hospitals in London have closed down. But that's amazing, Runa. You found the late husband's already. Well, I suppose I have. By accident. No, I did by accident. And 10 years ago, while Mr. Vigil was chief warden of the prison, he was responsible for overseeing the perpetrator's incarceration. No! So when the convict escaped, he had a responsible immediately dismissed. Something I really don't want to... Sometimes I really don't want to grow up. There's more. For 10 years after that, while he was obviously working as a peddler, he also had another secret job. He was paid by Gregson to be a stand-in to impersonate the Inspector. To impersonate Gregsy? But why? I have absolutely no idea. Ginny was right. I'm starting to think all adults are no good now. Including you, Bruno. I haven't paid anyone to impersonate me. That means he has to tie the Professor and Inspector Gregson together. So I do think we ought to pay a visit to Mr. Vigil, don't you? Back to St. Sinners then. Again. So, let's get a move on. Well, I think it's clear that we need to do, isn't it? Let's investigate, my dear fellows. Oh, it is. You're even more enthusiastic than usual today. If anyone has anything to hide, my special Wilson shooting iron will soon set straight. That? What? Water pistol? Stuff a piping hot extra special blend of mine. Then I'm quite sure it'll be very effective. I'd better be careful not to hide anything. Well, yes, it's a little strange Mr. Schultz is nowhere to be seen, but still. Let's go see what we can find out. Yes! Well, let's get a move on. So Edie's with us, let's get a move on. Alright, to the Lord Chief Justice's office. Only place we can go right now, so. No arguments, Prosecutor Asogi. You will continue the trial exactly as I instructed. Is that clear? Perfectly. It's Kazuma-sama! Define more strong her by the sound of it. You never did anything with it back then. Hi. What was we talking about? Anyway, now, Asogi. My lord. Hi. Kazuma. He left. He left without saying a word. Yes, what are you doing here? Oh, I was just hoping to ask you a few questions, if you wouldn't mind. I wanted to Van Zeek's trial concluded today, but the prosecutor Asogi's unwelcome inquiries are going to make it take longer than necessary. Unwelcome inquiries? As a result, I'm losing even more precious time. Currently 2 hours, 55 minutes, and 41 seconds. 42, 3. Then we must resolve your family for 3 hours have passed, Mr. Naruhodo. In a miraculous, not even 5 minutes. Anyway, I can't let the man's obvious bad mood put me off. I need information. Tell me. You're kind of suspicious, aren't you? Tell me something. About the Reaper. Does Prosecutor Asogi believe that Lord Van Zieks is the Reaper? I wouldn't know. It was 10 years ago, in that fateful closed trial, that Lord Van Zieks made a name for himself among the judiciary. But the next trial he fought, he lost. The ringleader of the criminal organization was acquitted, thanks to the jurors being under duress. But that's awful! That man's freedom was short-lived. He lasted just 3 days. 72 hours. Yes, let me see. He died at Rockside, his place work, I believe. How do you die in a Rockside? Where did he work? Correct, that was an inauguration of Reaper the Bailey. And people believe Lord Van Zieks was responsible? He was brought to trial himself, but it's shown to have been an accident, so he must have had a solid alibi then. Nevertheless, the mysterious deaths continue. In total, 16 persons perished in unusual circumstances, otherwise in the hand of the Reaper. That's a long run of coincidences. So now you stop. Well, the Reaper's true identity may be revealed in this trial. Let's see. Any impact or revelation would have the British public cannot be understated, and that's why it's closed trial. Precisely. Closed trial. This country hasn't seen a closed trial in 10 years. So the last one was professors to trial Genshin Asogi. Correct. Actually, we heard that originally you were going to prosecute the trial yourself, Lord Strongheart. Van Zieks intrigued to relinquish the prosecution to him. They might avenge his brother's death. And here we are, 10 years later. But the son of the man Van Zieks had condemned now looking to avenge his father's death in the same way. A cruel irony. They do say that what goes around comes around. However, it would seem that the new young prosecutor is harboring some ulterior motive as well. Kazuma is. However, organizations run smoothly the exact manner I prescribed. After the giant clock in here, I won't tolerate a single cog being out of step with the others. Ah, so that's what all the gears is about in here. What, is he living in the Big Ben? I don't even know. Is his office in the Big Ben or something? I've always wondered. Like, look at that big ass clock in the back. Is he in the Big Ben or something? I don't know, man. I'll be forced to take steps. What? What do you mean? Not something in which you need to concern yourself. In any case, the question will be answered tomorrow. Now we shall have to excuse me. As of this moment, I've been delayed attending my next meeting precisely 3 hours. Oh my, that's a long time. I'm gonna hold you entirely responsible. Even though we miraculously managed to fit everything into not even 5 minutes. I wonder if you might agree to us, talking with Prosecutor Asogi? Discussions between the defense and the prosecution outside the courtroom are generally frowned upon. However, I will make an exception in this case. Now go! Oh, thank you! See, Melissa Naruhodo. Kazuha's my best friend in the world, but I'm really not sure at all I know how to talk to him at the moment. Just gonna move on. Or you can go over there, but let's go to the prison. Talk to Van Zieks. Hi. How you been? Lord Van Zieks is reading. Look. He doesn't seem like he wants visitors, does he? But he must have noticed that we're here, surely. He's just ignoring. What do you Nipponese want? That's no way to greet a lawyer who's trying his hardest to prove your innocence, is it? Perhaps not. Hmm? I apologize. So, what can I do for you, Mr. Naruhodo? Lord Van Zieks, speaking earnestly. Oh, the fog will lift over London the first time in months tomorrow. This does feel very, very strange. I must say, I was impressed. Oh, well, thank you. Not by you, by your fellow Nipponese, your prosecutor friend. Oh, I see, yes. It's sardonic, don't you think? For a man such as me, it's loathing of the Nipponese to be entirely at the mercy of the two of you. I suppose it's retribution for having played the part of the Reaper all these years. Played the part? The Reaper's identity. You once told me that you'd gladly allow people to believe you were the Reaper, because it helped reduce the amount of serious crimes that took place in London. Keeping quiet and playing the part benefits the cause. A cause I myself am committed to pursuing. And why would I choose to say anything? But the henchman the criminal killed, the Reaper attacked only you the other day. That was just the most recent of many attempts in your life, wasn't it? Someone is clearly profiting off your silence about all this. Someone is using you. Believe me, ever since the Reaper first appeared, I've been doing my utmost to expose him. Or rather, expose the organization. Organization? Ah! It's a whole organization? It's inconceivable that all these accidents were orchestrated by one man. It has to be an entire group of people. No, the Reaper will always appear to be very accurate information to the accused in each case. Which can only mean that somebody at Scotland Yard is involved. Oh shit! Someone that... You can't mean! Gregson. It's taken me many years, but I finally identified the central figure in this Reaper organization. Tobias Gregson. What? No. No! Gregson the Reaper! Holy shit! Gregson's secret. Gregson. So, the reason you were investigating Inspector Gregson is because you intend to expose him as the Reaper? As I said, the Reaper of the Bailey is no single person. It's a highly secret organization with close ties to Scotland Yard. But there's no doubt that Gregson was a key member of the organization. Oh, shit. I don't believe it. Are you saying that Gregsy, that he was behind all those awful criminals meeting there? Gregson didn't do the dirty work himself, obviously. Oh. He was the tactician. His job was to covertly investigate the marks and plot their assassinations. So an assassination group, in order to do that without arousing suspicion, he regularly needed a firm alibi. Which is where Mr. Vigil came in, posing as the inspector. Vigil knows nothing of the Reaper, but the room he rents in Fresno Street almost certainly is the headquarters of the operation. Gregson would have met the assassin there for briefings. So we don't actually know who carried out the killing site? Actually, I do have a name. You what? Well, if you can name the man, you have the true identity of the Reaper already then. Or if I can name the woman. Oh. She's a young woman by the name of Assassin. We know that name. We know that name. Haven't we heard it before somewhere? Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember the final case of the first game? Do you guys remember the music box? Do you guys remember the 4 names and one of them was A Shin? And do you remember Giselle Brett? It's coming together, isn't it? It's all coming together, boys. Wait, what? Shin? Assassin. Yep, it's her. Miss Assassin. The true name of the terrifying killer I know only too well. That she's now dead, but we know who she is. She came to Japan posing as a visiting student and murdered Dr. John H. Wilson. Then just when it seemed that diplomatic protection would help her escape Japan with conviction, she was killed by a reporter. The serious woman was self-murdered in a small summer beach hub by a news reporter, which is actually... Honestly, Manny Momo's a fucking mad lad, let's be honest here. Manny Momo's a goddamn mad lad doing the God's work. If we're gonna be honest, he's doing the God's work. He's doing God's work, if we're gonna be honest. He's doing God's work here. Like, he is. And that woman was actually the Reaper of the Bailey? Dude. Mr. Dorado, perhaps this isn't the place to discuss. No, of course not. Can't mention it here. The fact that she killed Dr. John H. Wilson. Because Edie doesn't know the real life of my father. Assassin. I should let father know at once. Yes, I agree. Prosecutor Isogi. Kazuma, isn't it? Kazuma Isogi. You say he's a friend of yours. My best friend. He's the whole reason came to Britain. It was all of his merits. I have nothing but respect for him. Yes, I understand that only the very best students are selected for such opportunities. And I had a fine demonstration how sharp he is in the proceedings earlier today. He missed nothing. In fact, his flawless performance very much reminded me of his father. Genshin Isogi, the professor. It's true that aristocracy at the time was the root of numerous grave societal problems. They were abusing their power, playing with the common man as pawns in politics and economics, and war. And in many ways, Isogi was carving out a canker from society that we British couldn't do it for ourselves. Ah, I see. But that's precisely why it makes no sense. Clint Van Six was a noble and upstanding man. He wasn't corrupt. Why did the damn Nipponese have to go and take my brother's life? In spite of having once saved mine. He saved your life? How did that happen? Saving her life? It was 10 years ago, on a foggy night. That was when the professor's final strike had sent a wave of panic through the capital. So Clint Van Zieks had already been killed at this point then. Genshin and I were walking down some back streets at a late hour. Of course, at that point, I had no idea of the true nature of the man at my side. All of a sudden, maybe that was his true nature. Maybe... Don't make a peep! You're coming with us! We were surrounded. All of our assailants were armed with pistols, their faces obscured by scarves. Clint was not only from a noble heritage, he was a brilliant prosecutor as well. The scum of London hated the sight of him, and they had no sympathy for his younger brother either. I've been targeted several times before already. Yeah, it's Van Zieks, alright. We got him! I could hear them murmuring amongst themselves. I know they were after me. But just when I thought the time had come, if I let them kill you, Clint would never forgive me. It was Isogi's voice, just a whisper in my ear. After that, I don't remember exactly what happened. The next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He shielded me. Oh, damn. 2 days later, they arrested him, on suspicion of being London's most notorious mass murderer ever, the Professor. How awful for you. All at once, I lost the brother I revered, and the foreign friend I held in such high regard. I'm so sorry, Lord Van Zieks. Holy shit, dude. God damn. It's the end of my miserable tale. I never thought I'd recount it to anyone. Well, thank you for finding in me. I'm eating popcorn right now. Professor, the Reaper, Inspector Gregson. I wonder just how immediately related they all are. I still can't quite believe that Gregson was essentially the Reaper, giving assassination orders to Giselle Brett, or Assassin. Mr. Naruhodo, let's go and inform my father. I'm sure our government will want to hear about this new information. I don't think they will want to. Oh, that means I got me your daddy, Susie? Hooray! Yes, alright. Let's head back to Great Waterloo Hotel then. Wow. Gonna move on. Here we go. I thought it yesterday and I think it again today. This place is so princely. It was a wild guess, but if you're feeling, I think the same tomorrow. My tea is finer fragrance than whatever you're serving in the tea room, wouldn't you say? Oh, look what we have here. For unexpected pleasure. Ah, fuck my popcorn. Ah, father. Oh, is this your daddy, Susie? How lovely. What a charming young lady. And you are? Ah, really? So you're an author of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, are you? That's me. Edith Wilson, at your service, sir. Susie's been such a wonderful friend to me over the last year, you know. Well, Miss Wilson, I must say I read your work regularly with much interest. Edith actually lives with Mr. Sholmes, you know, father. Is that so? Well, perhaps I guess what I'm explaining is a bright look in your eyes. You wouldn't be smiling so early if you knew just how bright she is, believe me! Nada and young Naruhodo, it was a pleasure seeing you in action earlier. As an invitee of Sim Sim, I like to observe from the gallery, after I twisted some arms. And I must say, I was truly exemplary of your performance. Oh, well, thank you very much. Although I'm fairly sure you omitted by Kazuma on the end there. No, please don't misunderstand. It was you who impressed me. Really? You didn't mess with this step against Asogi. We all know how capable he is. Really, to have matured into such a fine defense lawyer in less than a year is quite extraordinary. It's very kind of you to say so. Really nice to hear. What I saw in court today confirmed what I've been hoping for. The favor I mentioned yesterday, Naruhodo. I trust you haven't forgotten. Oh, no, you did mention something, didn't you? But first, we have something to report, Father. Of course. Shall we take tea while we discuss matters further? I wonder where Judge Goku has got. Where did he go? Odd. Alright. About the Reaper. Father, do you know about the so-called Reaper the Bailey? I've heard rumors. Some members of the judiciary explained it to me yesterday. Of course, when I was visiting student here in London, the Reaper was yet to emerge. Right, he didn't appear until after that case when the visiting students had already returned home. Lord Van Zeeks, who was in the dock today. That was Barack, the younger brother of Clint Van Zeeks, I believe. That's right. He's known throughout London as the Reaper, as you heard, but the truth is, it wasn't him behind all those mysteries, deaths, it was somebody else. I see. So what you're saying is, there's been a professional killer at work here. Exactly. Someone by the name of Asa Shin, in fact. I beg your pardon. Did you say Asa Shin? You mean that Giselle woman who was responsible for killing my great friend? Oh no, a friend of yours was killed? Professor Mikoto, I think perhaps I shouldn't discuss it enough. Because the friends the professor's talking about was Dr. John H. Wilson. That's not something what needs to find out, not like this anyway. Dr. Wilson's death. I've just remembered something. Biscuits! This hotel has the most delicious looking biscuits. That was rather out of the blue. She's doing this deliberately. I think I'll go and see if I can purchase some. I wonder, would you like to come too, Edie's? Oh, yes. You should try to leave me be. Let's talk alone. So that young girl is called Edith Wilson, is she? Yes, that's right. And she's the author of those adventure stories starring the great Detective Sholmes. But the name of the credit author is Edith, is it? It's Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, I know, that's all the name of her father is. Your father? Dr. John H. Wilson. I was deeply embedded in that man all kindness you showed me during my time here in London. That's why I was so keen on recuperating the invite to Imperial University 4 years ago. But he was murdered last year by Giselle Brett. Why? Why would they hand the Reaper stretch all the way to Japan? Edith knows nothing about that case. But it seems very likely that the victim, Dr. Wilson, was her father. Well, I can't say we ever spoke about his family, so I don't know if he had a daughter or not. But I think I can say with sincerity that he was never the great detective's partner. So it could have been not another Dr. Wilson, you think? Well, John and Wilson are both common names after all. That is true. Still, it's probably best not to mention this to the young lady until to be sure. As we thought, yes. We're back. The cinnamon biscuits. Oh, there were actual biscuits? Oh, they smell delicious, ladies. I think cinnamon was very well with the tea they serve here. Don't you, Susie? Yes, I'm sure you're right, ladies. Judge Goku. Where the fuck is he? I haven't seen Judge Goku for a while. Have you? Guilty! But that guilty is still ringing in my ears. No, now that you mention it, I haven't seen him since this morning either. I suppose since the Simpsons opening was postponed, he'll have to go and explore the Great Exhibition. That reminds me of something you mentioned yesterday. About Chucky Goku and Wisman Doc himself? Ah yes, it's all tied up to the accursed trial. The closed trial of Kazuma's father. Tashiro was trying to mitigate against his guilt, so he took the stand to testify. But he got a little too carried away and, actually managed to break the witness stand! Okay, that is pretty funny. Like, he just... God damn! You know how hard those are? They're hard! Has some impressive strength, I must say. Oh my, those are hard. He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged. Oh dear, although it's wearing easy to imagine him doing that really easy. Well, it was alright. In the end, we was acquitted and returned home to Japan together. Thank goodness. Ah, yes, talking about Shashido. Have a copy of the photograph we took together. Here, yesterday, please. Oh, what a lovely picture. It certainly seems to shout, we've arrived in Britain. Wait, why is it in the... Oh, no. Okay, so... Why is this photo in the court record? It's gonna be used for evidence, and you know it. It's gonna happen. You know it. Kind of suspicious, isn't it? Something so innocent having implications. None of us had any idea we were coming into it, did we? No, that's true. The favor. What was this favor about? So you mentioned a favor that you'd like to ask. Well, this fateful trial that you're fighting, one way or another, is to be over before long. And when it is, I'd like you to accompany back to Japan. You want me to do... What?! The father? What's the meaning of this? Now, Susato, you should understand. You see how court works firsthand. Japan's judicial system is infancy, especially when it comes to defense. Oh, you mean... The Supreme Court Judiciary is desperate need of a good defense lawyer. As soon as possible, really quite urgently, in fact. But I've not even been in London a year yet! I've read all Susato's reports. I'm well aware of your extraordinary talents. And having seen you in action with my own eyes earlier today, there's no question. You, Naruhodo, are precisely the man our country needs. So, you'll be leaving then, Runa? But then, what am I supposed to do, father? I came here to serve as a Soki judicial assistant. Oh yeah, she's supposed to be Kazuma's assistant. Our government is still in process of deciding how to best deal with the situation, though. You've always chosen your own path, Susato. And I trust your judgment. As a matter also. Father? Please, the pair of you, don't look so downcast. It's merely a suggestion. You understand, I hope, to be honest, but I won't force you. All I ask is that you consider it its own decision at the time the trial concludes. Yes. Alright. You won't leave, will you, Runa? I'm sorry. The thought didn't even cross my mind yet. Up until now, I've just been trying to do what I believe to be Kazuma's will, but it turns out that he's still alive, so where does that leave me? It says resolve. To see things through. Of course, that's why it's called resolve! Now in the other region. Well, if you excuse me now, I need to telegram the government ministers about Japanese police was arranged about assassin. Of course, father. Thank you. It's a big deal. Holy shit. Look forward to the next one's Stalin is also. Oh, good. And please, do come to Baker Street sometime, won't you? We'd love to entertain you. I would be delighted. The best of luck tomorrow. Naruhodo. And my suggestion, your full consideration, won't you? I will. Yes, I will. Going back home. You know, Kazuma-sama has always meant a great deal to my father. I'm sure he loved the chance to meet with him and talk to him about all of this. Yes, no doubt. Assassin. Of course, it's so obvious. How could I have neglected to consider the possibility before now? Ah! Mr. Sholmes! Hurley, where have you been? Why, I joined you out to tea, of course. Very extraordinary question. I didn't notice you at all. No matter. Anyway, no more pressing questions. Oh, yes. I must dispatch telegram to your country at once, in a matter of much urgency. To Japan, you mean? Tell me, to whom will I entrust the task? Quickly now, who? Ah, well... My father said just now to telegram to the Imperial Police Bureau of Japan himself. I see. Well, he looked reliable enough and beautiful. I don't think my father's sports would consider it being Mr. Sholmes. There's not a moment to lose. I'm sure your father is sent. What's this? I will, but what is it? No question at the time, please, Mr. Santa. All we can do is pray. That for once, my deduction is aware. Doesn't try to imply your deductions are normally correct, Mr. Sholmes, which is exactly... Now then. You may be surprised to learn, a very busy man. I'm certainly have no time to hide behind CTs and eavesdrop other people's conversations. So that's what joining this little team meant. I'll leave the sending in your hands then, my dear fellows. What's this supposed to be? Ah, wait a minute, Mr. Scholz! He just sort of ran off, didn't he? Quite a pace. I left the unpaid bill for his tea behind, too. I've tried to have father telegram the office. Once! And I ran to the cab, straight away. And there was me thinking everyone would be calling me to pay Mr. Scholz's bill. Alright, let's get a move on. Let's go to Mr. Vigil, see how he's doing. It's the war where Mr. Vigil was brought, apparently. To be frank, a little worried about seeing him again. Hi, I'm sorry about making you pass out. Had a lawyer. All over again. I'm sorry. Are you feeling better now, Mr. Vigil? Yes, thank you. Somewhat better. I'm so sorry to have caused you to... I mean, it was because of me. I having exposed your secret and forced you to remember things you obviously tried to forget. The prosecutor was here until a few moments ago, too. You just missed him. Oh, Cosmo beat us to it. He must have said the same as you. He was very apologetic. But the truth is, I brought this upon myself. Please, don't think like that. Keeping it from Evie, my wife, all these years, I carried such a sense of guilt. But that's not the worst of it. Over time, I obviously came to deceive myself as well. You mean about your dismissal? Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident at all. And he compensated me for generously for acting as a stand-in. He was clearly concerned with my well-being and doing exactly what could help. So perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become Mr. Big all along then. Jairus just deserves for 10 years of lies of deception, but... Wasn't even help the professor escape 10 years ago. It wasn't me! I swear it! I swear it's true! Oh, Mr. Vigil. I'm sure you'd rather not judge any more of your past, but if possible, could you tell us exactly what really happened? I want to. I need to get all this off my chest. I want someone to tell me what I should have done. Oh, I'm sorry, bro. It's gonna be hard, but... Gregson's request, what was it about? Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in special operations of some sort. He was investigating something that even Scotland Yard couldn't know about. He tells it to Reaper's Marxist. It was when he had to carry out these investigations. It would take the investigation to impersonate him, and pretend to be the inspector and carry out investigations on his behalf? Oh no, never! A common street peddler couldn't possibly have carried proper police investigation. All I would do is a specific location and make a little hoo-ha. Oh. Just something to leave an impression. So everyone there would think a detective called Gregson was here. Oh. It's a lie. So that's what you were doing the day prior to the incident. Yes. He asked me to make an appearance at the park on Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. That makes sense. So as usual, the fashion inspector's indication around me was very vocal about my presence. But then you were taken prisoner. Those red-headed fraudsters. Yes. So you would always make the point showing Gregson's notifications rather than being allowed. That's what the inspector asked me to do, yes. No, that was his. Well, that's one way to become legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though. And as you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck from their hands. But the following day, they kept their word and released me, without returning an inspector identification to you, however. We had arranged to meet in Frenza Street, room 5 that day, so I could report back to the inspector. But at the agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot. But we know it wasn't a gunshot. We know it was just the firecrackers. It was at midnight, 17th of June, 10 years ago. That was the time scheduled of the execution. But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it? Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to effect the plan of escape. I hardly dare to imagine what a chilling plan it was. Barclay was renowned for being a high-security prison in country. Everything went out of the place and searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception. Or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned. A loophole? I have a feeling I know what a loophole was now. The coffins into which the bodies of executed convicts were placed, correct? Yes. once the coroner had confirmed the death of the condemned convict. The body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial in Lowgate Cemetery, just behind the prison. So even Scythe knew. The chief warder first had to sign the necessary papers. Papers with the body. And after that, no member of the staff was permitted to touch the coffin containing the body again. But people still do anyway, so what's the point? When executions took place, only the executioner and the coroner were permitted inside the chamber. So you and him out away to the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. On that occasion, once I had the confirmation, I went to the mortuary to find the lone coffin, as usual. The procedure was to sign the paperwork having checked the coffin, and then nail it shut. But for some reason that day, the coffin was already nailed shut! No! So technically he could have died if he wasn't released. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy had checked the coffin and nailed it shut before I arrived. So you mean the coffin contained... Yes. I can only imagine that Asogi, having escaped his execution somehow, was alive inside the coffin. Holy shit! The coffin was taken out through the main gates and deposited in Lowgate Cemetery. God damn, son. Presumably that wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for long. Yeah, obviously. I mean, like, you can be buried alive and... yeah, obviously you need air, so, like, you could put holes, but... You put holes to make it at least a little bit, but still, air is what you need. So in early hours in the burial, someone dug up the coffin again to get him free. But in the end, he was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway by someone. What on earth really happened in Lowgate Cemetery that night, I wonder? I'm afraid I really don't know. All I can say is Sir needed two things. Asogi couldn't possibly have escaped away without help from somebody working in the prison, that's true. And that somebody was not me. Wasn't you. Then who? And who else? The convict Asogi. I'm gonna drink some water because I'm thirsty. I obviously knew the man then. The professor. I mean, Genshin Asogi. Yes, I remember him well, in fact. Would you mind telling us what you know? Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the man was short. Obviously. After the trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary, they called for his execution to be carried out at the earliest possible opportunity. The outcome of the trial was set from the beginning, wasn't it? It was time delicate diplomacy when Britain and Japan were in the process of signing an important treaty. Diplomacy. That meant that this potentially debilitating case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly. The man had less than a week in total. I was the chief warder. I oversaw his short stay in the cells until his final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resilience. What do you mean, exactly? So, he was a killer of many men, but he was always quiet and polite. The Japanese way. He was a gentleman and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he had done, so I asked him one day. Also, fun fact, okay, so here's a little in-game fun fact I want to tell you guys, is that there's actually an unused model in the game's files of Genshin himself. There's actually an unused model of him sitting. So it looks like at some point is that they, you know, at the scene right here, they were gonna have like, you can actually see Genshin sitting, but that was scrapped and you don't even see him at all, on his model at all. You don't see, you know, except for the, you know, the wax model, but that's pretty much the closest thing you have to him. It's an actual model. Kind of, I can say. Those 5 members who lived lives were taken. You're really responsible. I'm guilty of a forgivable crime of ending another human's life. Yes. The following day, the closed trial took place and the verdict was no surprise. Guilty. That night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something. Something unusual. Something unusual. What? The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi. Asogi's will. See what this is about. As I said, it was only a night following his trial after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the rounds of the cells, and when I looked into Asogi's, I noticed that he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hands. His last will and testament, then, presumably. As soon as he noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back. But why did you find it so unusual? Is it normal for a man to pen when no, he was deaf as 9? Yes, that's true. But there were special conditions to Asogi's incarceration, you see. What sort of conditions? Well, even though he was held in a cell designed for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects of him, with one exception. Really? He was out of his Sphinx? That is unusual, certainly. Of course, he had been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy, but at the same time, he was a guest in our country from Empire Japan. The powers that were determined that his final days shouldn't be needlessly uncomfortable. And what was the exception you mentioned to the personal effects he was allowed? That's the point. He wasn't permitted to have writing materials. Specifically, no pens or paper. Oh! So he was prevented from leaving any written record of what happened to him? Basically. Yes, that's the long and short of it. I had no idea how he obtained that paper. Any written materials could have been confiscated upon his incarceration. As I said, he hid the paper behind his bag when he pleaded with me. What did you just hide behind your back? Please turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline. But you know it's against the rules. You're the only person who's seen. If you just agreed to keep quiet. Alright then, but what's on that paper? A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. The only weapon I have left. How can a will be a weapon? Unless it's a confession. Unless there's a written confession. Unless one of them is a written confession, or like right the whole truth of what really happened. So I decided to pretend I seen nothing and let him keep his will. But then later, it just seemed to vanish without a trace. What? What do you mean? It would seem there was even a mysterious will. Ooh, the will's disappearance. See how this go. I was the only person who saw Soki's will, but somehow it disappeared. It was after Soki's execution, quotations, which was actually an elaborate jailbreak. The warders gathered up Asoki's possessions that were in his cell. They were to be sent back to his family home in Japan. You see, typical Kazuma-sama. And you're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found among his personal effects? The will, I mean. That's right, though I didn't search for it myself. But Governor Kaden was livid. He was screaming, "I cannot disappear completely!" That doesn't quite make sense, though, does it? In what way? Unless it was hidden somewhere. Well, we understood only Mr. Vigil was aware of the will's existence. In which case, how did the prison governor know to look for it? Oh, yes, you're right! I really don't know how he knew. But it certainly seemed as though he knew of the will's existence from the outset. Only if he didn't refer to it as will. He said it was the Asogi Papers. The Asogi Papers? I really can't tell you anything of sequential events. Because, well, of what happened. Your dismissal, and the way you blocked it all from your memory. I forgot all of it until today, but I suppose it's relevant to the case, though. Well, anyway, thank you very much for sharing it with us, Mr. Vigil. Yes, very grateful. Now, let's go to the governor's office, shall we? I'm afraid there's really more I can tell you. My wife, have you here shortly? I don't want to appear rude, but no, not at all. Thank you again. But what will become of you now? Well, impersonating a police officer is a criminal offense, of course. I imagine that once will occur, I should be arrested. I'm so sorry. Don't be, please. It was all my own doing. I always knew that this day would come. Well, I wish you well. Goodbye, Mr. Vigil. Ah! Before you go, there's just one thing. Oh, yes? What is it? The Asogi Papers. I'd be very grateful if you make no mention of the things I told you about them, presumably for good reason. It's my understanding that its very existence is a closely guarded secret. It's became known because I've known to remember. Well, it could be rather troublesome, I think. I understand. Some sort of will that Genshin Asogi penned just before his death, which the man himself claimed was his last weapon. I wonder, perhaps this had something to do with his plan to escape? If there's anyone who might know where Dr. Cosmo's father left behind, it'll be Mr. Vickle's governor. Then we know precisely where we must go, back to Barclay Prison. Oh, I'm sorry, bro. Sorry, don't do that. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, hi. Oh, back again, are you? Yes. Hello. I've heard all about your investigations. I read the report just now. You found them, eh? Vigor. Yes, luckily. Well, anywho, the laddie doesn't work here no more, so your case no, not to do with Barclay. Wouldn't like you to get wrong about that. Of course, yes. Mr. Vigil stopped working here 10 years ago now, so... Yes, we've seen his muscle notice, haven't we? He was given the trap. Hey, Gimler, you're getting very well. So, how about the week ankle biscuits? Oh, they're really like little handcuffs, as hard as irons too. So, what's brought you down here today? So tiny. Well, there is something I'd like to ask you about, actually. Is that so? More Karuma secrets. We believe there might have been a document that disappeared from Geshin Asoki's cell. I think it's been called the Asoki Papers or something? Did I no say? Gregson's death is not the things that might happen to Barclay. Leave the past to the past, laddie. Let's not photo with irrelevant details. His expressions changed completely. We're clearly onto something here. Let's talk. I know you don't want to talk, but we gotta talk, boy. The 10-year-old legacy. The better is botched execution, the whole miserable escape. They were Barclay's darkest hour, eh? A shocking embarrassment. Because the convict are collaborator, the prison staff, you mean? Eh, for shame. The coroner confirmed the death of the man after his execution, Courtney Seif, and my chief ward at the time, Vigil, who was in charge of the whole affair. But Mr. Vigil says he didn't know anything about it. The rascal wouldn't have said otherwise, eh? More handcuffs? Oh, how can I say no? There's never too much iron in your diet. Oh, so adorable. When Mr. Vigil's hand dismissed his results, what happened? He was so despairing he jumped out of your office window, didn't he? It's kind of extreme, but... I didn't like to say, but that's just Vigil trying to get out of it. Do you not think he would have just jumped on the shock of crimes being exposed, eh? I do. You wouldn't say otherwise, would you? Of course, I cannot shun all responsibility myself. Yeah, I was unavailable to see me. Why do you have a burn in your room? Actually, there's barely anybody else in it at the time now. With Gregson having been murdered and Dr. Seif forbidden from having any visitors. No visitors! Somebody obviously doesn't want her giving anything away. Well, we're not going home empty-handed. And I wouldn't dream of sending you packing with now, Gimmer. Here, take a handful for two. Oh, well, it would be serious to say no when it become animal. I suppose if there's anybody mighty keen about what happened back then, it'd be less of an influencing division. Maria Gori. Maria Gori? Eh, Seif's daughter. She didn't have a more, just the one. But the wee Bryants followed in the ma's footsteps. You didn't ever see her without a scalpel in her hand. Ah, her! Mama, what is this? Where did she spring from? And did she just call her the Dr. Mama? Mama? Or Mama? Dr. Seif's daughter, Maria Gori. We could say we're talking to her. Gori. So, she's Dr. Seif's daughter, but her surname is Gori? Eh, there is some family history, I'm sure, but I didn't get the ins and outs and oots of it. She grew up watching her ma working with the bodies of folk who died in strange circumstances, and decided to do the same with her own life. I can understand it myself. Perhaps she was driven by deep respect for her mother? Perhaps. Anywho, she was in charge of Gregson's autopsy, I believe. Right, the coroner responsible for the complete report. Someone told me that the wee lassie always loved her mom's stories about cutting up bodies. And there's even a rumor that she used to listen to the funeral march as a lullaby. Oh, a funeral march? Hold on. Well, then perhaps her mother might have told her about the autopsy in the case 10 years ago. Oh, here it is. Chop in. Chopin, Marche Funebre, Funeral March. Oh, here it is. I found it. I found it. As a better chance at least. After all, that's the last legendary case for all of us. You really need to speak to Miss Corey herself, I think. Well, thank you very much. I'm not happy about any part of this. Took years for London to finally forget the whole professor business. Can you not give up this laddie? Stop asking pointless questions. I'm sorry. I don't like drawing up these painful memories for everyone, but... Can you just stay away? No. Leave me alone and do not come back, right? Dear Sogi papers. Where can be talking? How do you come to knew about that, laddie? There is no many folk here in the prison who would have heard of those papers. Well, I can't tell, Mr. Vigo told me. I'm afraid our sources must remain confidential, sir. It was led to believe papers are actually a last will and testament, is that right? The professors, or rather, Genshin Asogi's. Eh, that's right. You're well informed, Jimmy. Oh, is that the end of silent treatment? Why you call me Jimmy? After the convict's execution's mysterious event from his cell, didn't it? Heavens, no, you're off the half cock there. I think you didn't quite get your facts straight. It was there in the cell, exactly what it should have been. Oh, no, not what I've heard elsewhere. Oh, he has it. Let me just have a wee go down in here. I'm sure I can find it. Here we go. Oh, look how he has an axe on his side. Hey, here we are, see? The last will and testament of Genshin Asogi, written in calligraphy brush. Of course, I cannot read a word of those Japanese squigglies, but the mind says he leaves all Wednesday possessions of his son back in his homeland. Yes, that's correct. That's the gist of it. So these are the Asogi papers. Eh? Of course they are. Papers written by Asogi. Now you doubt about Ubuntu. There's no mystery here, laddie. That's your lot. After all, it's Star Marshal Sykes to the execution. We sent the man's possessions back to his clan in Japan. That was the end of it. Even the sword, which he had possession. I think we had to make a record of this, Mr. Nodahoda, just in case. Asogi papers. We're gonna read it. One thing for you goes your way, Mr. Nodahoda. Oh, yes? Those papers are nothing to do with Grexon's death. I prefer to make no mention about outside this office. Rather, I would just prefer it, or consider it an order from the highest levels of the government. I understand. I don't understand. Okay, so now that we got what we want, let's go and talk to Kazuma and see what the fuck is going on with him. I love how it's a little scene. So this is the office of the prosecutor, so you know, is it? Oh, look at these bats. Kazuma-sama is doing so well for himself. Even though he is always forced to kneel on the floor, Japanese style in the dark corner. It's happened to seat size style where he's working. Kazuma. I thought it wouldn't be long before you paid me a visit, Yujinosuke. I was right about what I said, wasn't I? Sorry? That you have all the makings of a great defense lawyer. Well, I always believed that you fulfill your dream of advocating for the British courts. I just never imagined for 1 second that it would be as a prosecutor. Seeing you stand in foreign court and so gallantly realizing your dream, Kazuma-sama, I'm truly happy for you. And I'm truly thankful to you, Jujutsu Yujinosuke. I always thought it would be fun for you and I to shake the British legal system a little together. This isn't quite how I envisioned it, but I suppose it's just another twist of fate. I've learned a lot of things during my time in London. About how Susato-san's father was himself a visiting student here once, along with Jochigoku, and about what happened with your father. Then you have no difficulty understanding why I had no choice, why I had to find a way to get to Britain as a visiting student myself. I wanted to hear from you, Kazuma. As you wish, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Let's talk. Your disappearance. It's getting on for a year now since what happened on the SS Buria. We were heading across the oceans from Japan to Great Britain when a bizarre series of coincidences led to the tragic events. I thought I lost my best friend forever. I must have been unconscious for a long time. When I awoke, I was lying on the bed. It was a narrow little room. There was a posy of flowers by the pillow. It took me a little while to realize I was in the cabin of a ship. I slipped out of the room and headed upon the deck. Were you already suffering from amnesia at this point? Yes. I didn't know what happened to me where I was. There was just this voice in my head. You have to do. Something no one else can know about. Go to Great Britain. Your task awaits you there. It was a calling I couldn't ignore. It compelled me relentlessly. Out of the deck, I saw that it was a huge steamship and we were docked at a large port. It must have been Hong Kong. Yes, it must have been. Presumably just before they were due to carrying your body off the ship. I had no idea of the situation, but I did have a feeling that this was in some way my last chance, so I concealed myself among the disembarking passengers and went ashore. Then I disappeared into the crowded streets of that foreign port city, so I could plan my onward journey to Great Britain. Your journey to Great Britain. Just under a year ago, with all my past memories lost to me, I was left behind in Hong Kong. Everything was foreign to me. The sights, the sounds, the smells. My head reeled. I was truly at a loss. I realize now that I've escaped as a dead man with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, of course. Oh, how terrifying for you. Luckily, though, I had two feathers in my cap. One being your knowledge of English, I suppose. That's right. And on the back of that, I was able to pick up some work as a deckhand on a cargo ship. Eventually, after calling to countless ports, I finally arrived at Dover. It must have been some 3 months ago now. With tenacity, his purpose is showing itself again. I mean, the man had lost memory and literally nothing to his name, but he still managed to make his way to London on the opposite side of the world. Of course, I had no idea why I moved heaven and earth to get here at that point. So how did you end up becoming Lord Van Zieks' apprentice then? That can only be called extraordinary. Stroke of luck, really. Oh, you see, I was stopped at a border because I had no papers. Yeah. They took me straight to Scotland Yard. And by sheer coincidence, Lord Strongheart was there to attend the meeting. That's when the second feather in my cap came in play. Would that have been your knowledge of the law? Yes, exactly. Lord Strongheart was curious about the Easterner with immediate knowledge of British law. He took me back with him to the Supreme Court and assigned me to the prosecutor's office. And then, 9 days ago, you finally got your memory back after the trial involving Drebber. Yes, I did. Your father, Genshin. Ever since I first met you at Yume, you talked about your dream. Mark my words, Ryunosuke. I will be chosen as a visiting student and make my way to Great Britain someday. My throat, fuck. Did you know the entire time about what happened with your father here? Or you had a feeling 16 years ago? My father left on the exciting trip to Great Britain. I was just a boy. We took a photograph together the day before his departure. It's my last memory of him. But what I remember most about my father is his unswerving sense of justice. 6 years after he left, a gentleman called at our family home. He told me that Genshin, my father, had been taken ill in England and passed away. It was Professor Mikotoba, your father, Susato-san. Oh my. Ever since then, the professor was very good to me. He even helped to fund my university education at Yume. I'll be forever in his debt. But nevertheless, I just couldn't bring myself to believe what he told me. Oh. Then one day, a letter arrived at our house from Britain. There was no indication of the sender, so I opened it assuming it was from an old acquaintance of my father. What I read in that letter changed my entire life. What did it say? It said that my father had been a mass murderer, and the writer cursed the Asogi name. Oh no! As a result of that letter, I found out what had been hidden from me all those years. Letter from Britain. Who was that person, though? Presumably, the letter was sent from a relative of one of the victims. Oh, if whoever had been a member of the judiciary, he could have been present at the closed trial. The letter revealed that my father had been sentenced to death, executed for being a killer. I'm so sorry I had to find out that way. That's horrible. Imagine straight up. Just imagine. Okay, that's actually horrible. Imagine straight up. You're just like, like the kid just finds the letter and goes, wait, hold on, what? My whole life was a lie? Like, holy shit. Obviously being so confusion, like. Sometimes the victims of situations can be assholes. Okay, that's for sure. Sometimes they just, their grief gets the better of them. Their grief gets the better of them, so because their grief gets the better of them, they just let it all out, and as a result, they don't think of what the other family members think of it. They just don't think. It happens, really. Sometimes the victims are victims, but sometimes they could be aggressors too, Again, that's how I see it. I imagine the British government did its very best to silence whoever sent that letter. That's true, but someone who knew the truth couldn't bear the resentment was always going to be a problem. But still, it could have been written by anyone. Why would you believe such a thing? That's true, it's horrible. There's a newspaper cutting included in the letter. Oh no, yep! It was the first I've ever heard of the professor and his terrible killing spree. Wow, what did your father have to say about the letter? I couldn't bring myself to show it to him. What? Why not? Because he deliberately concealed the truth from me by telling me my father was taken by fatal illness. That couldn't have been easy for him, and he'd done it out of consideration for my feelings. So instead, I showed the letter to Judge Shigoku. To the other visiting student. He faltered the briefest of moments, but then he just laughed at the letter off. But in that moment, I saw it in his face. He was undeniably shocked, shaken momentarily before recovering his poise. A year later, my revered mother succumbed to the strain of grief, and she too passed away. Oh no. That's when I made up my mind that one day, without fail, I would cross the seas to Britain and seek the truth for myself. The truth about my father, Genshin Isogi. I don't let anyone stand in my way. Oh, Kazuma-sama. The Reaper's trial. What we learned today in court turned things completely on their head. It was an impressive piece of lawyering. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Lord Van Ziegs isn't the Reaper, I almost don't want to believe it myself, but it turns out the Inspector guessed himself what the victim was. It's clear that the Inspector was behind the Reaper's activity all along. What? You mean you knew? The real question is, who's been giving orders to the Inspector? Yeah, that's the question. Who? Yes, Barack Van Ziegs is the real Reaper. And I know that 10 years ago it was him. Who decided my father must be a mass murderer and sent him to his grave. No, he was merely saying that justice is done. Law dictates. He's not to blame. Ultimately, it's people who condemn people. The law is just a tool that they use to do it. And when a man condemns another, he must take responsibility for his actions. Of course, he must. But I know for certainty that my father would never take another man's life. Kazuma. On the contrary, my father's life is taken by the Reaper. So, we'll show him the autopsy because we need permission to get to the, because we need permission. So, we're gonna have to show him the autopsy report. Wherever the fuck it is in all this goddamn evidence, because look at how much evidence we have. 3 pages worth of evidence. Where is it? There it is. Yeah, Maria Gori, time of death unknown. Causes of shot on the chest, closure in front, resulting in instant death, scorch marks and point of entry, bullet is behind. The caliber of the gun used matches standardization firearms under the judiciary. Here we go. This came up in the trial, didn't it? Something a little dubious, I mean. The fact that no time of death was recorded in Inspector Greg's autopsy. Yes, there were some unexpected turns in the courtroom earlier. The suggestion you came up with certainly took everyone by surprise. The idea of the victim died previous day at some other location is quite something. Well, considering the pocket watch had stopped the scorch marks of the candle, there's certainly a distinct possibility of evidence in the scene both to point to. To be honest, it bothered me too. So I paid a visit to the autopsy room earlier. The coroner responsible wasn't there, but I got a name. It's Dr. Gori. If I wouldn't trouble you, Kazuma-sama, it would be very much to speak with the coroner, too. Of course. The last thing I want is anything to brush under the carpet. Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory is behind Locate Cemetery. Locate Cemetery, Berkeley prison, you mean? You know it too. The prison where my father was incarcerated and robbed of his life. Where's my father's body is, isn't it? Kazuma-sama. His grave is technically still there. Well, thank you. We'll pay a visit to the laboratory later today. Ryunosuke, I I want to thank you. What for? For this. You safeguarded the soul of the Sogi clan. Well, it is famous sword have been in your family for generations, after all. My only slight regret is I never got the chance to drop before I returned to you. Karuma is said to have been forged by a master swordsmith during this Sengoku warring states period. I come from a long line of lineage of warriors, many of whom were expert swordsmen. Well then, you're a typical black, I'd say. This blade, Karuma, symbol of Yosogi's clan's honor and might. Apparently, one of my father's apprentices even took the blade's name for her surname. Really? Karuma? That's formidable. That's for sure. 16 years ago, when my father was visiting a student here in London, he had his sword forever at his side, which is why it means so much to me that I have it at my side again now, too. So it's like your father's with you, and that is all thanks to you. It was an honor. Well, now, I have precautions to make preparations to make it tomorrow, perhaps a little too much. Kazuma, you've changed. No, Ryunosuke, I haven't changed at all. It's you who's changed. I can completely understand your resentment for Lord Van Zieg's given what happened, but the fact is, those events in the case are, well, unrelated? Is that what you want to say? Why can you be so sure? What do you mean? Never mind. That man is a Reaper, and for the reason the inspector was killed. I'm going to prove as much to the court tomorrow, by whatever means necessary. I can't let you do that, Kazuma. I know you do, Suzuki. But I'm sure I don't need to tell you that I won't be taking any prisoners in the court. I would expect nothing less. Until tomorrow, then, in Old Bailey. Alright, just gotta move on. Let's go to the forensics laboratory, talk to Gory about it. This place is really creepy, isn't it? Oh wow, look, it's changed a bit since last time we were here. Now there's a whole bunch of creepy looking dolls on it. It's more, well, being a dead room, it's probably full of spirits and dissected. But actually, there's a rather pleasant scent of roses in here. Well, being a dead room, the coroner probably needs a bold scent to mask the odor of death. Yeah, that's true. Edie's, do you think we could change the subject matter? What's that? Oh, she's, sharpening the scalpels. Dr. Gory. Hello. What? That noise before. I was sharpening my tools. Yeah, that's what I said. I'd be dead meat if I keep a perfectly keen edge onto them. Right. When following the collagen fibers in the dermis, an expertly sharpened scalpel cuts like cheese. Would you like a demonstration? Oh, yes, please. I'd love to see. Then, I think you do nicely. No, I wouldn't do nicely at all. I mean, maybe some other time, when I'm dead. In 100 years. Was that a well, we came here to ask questions, so... Alright. Time of death. We have actually met before. I'm a lawyer, if you remember. You're not dead yet. What? So Mama said I wasn't to cut you open. She's so strict about things like that. Oh, good. Is that spinal cord over there in the corner? Dr. Seif has some scruples at least. Oh dear. It looks like she's not interested in talking to us for the time being. For the time being, you mean until we die? I hope that's all else. Sorry, but I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon. Surely there's a less drastic way of making her listen. So now, you have to present the autopsy report in order for her to actually talk. Here we go. Dr. Gory, we actually came here to ask you about this. He was very good. Good? Sorry? His skin didn't snag my blade once. A very little mess. His joints dislocated easily, and his muscle tissue was pleasure to work with. We can skip those details. Actually, I want to hear those details. I'm the opposite. I want to hear those details. But there is one thing in the report that's caught my attention. You don't seem to have recorded a time of death. That's not my fault. Oh, that made me jump. Then please, tell us what happened. So, why doesn't an autopsy report include the victim's time of death then? It's really the most crucial detail. I was told not to write it. What? By whom? Mayor Strongheart, the Lord Chief Justice, he came here. Lord Strongheart came? He said that from the witness statements about the gunshot and the other evidence, it was obvious. The man clearly died at 5 p.m. on November 1st when the gunshot was heard. No. No. But that's not the time of death you wrote in the report. You didn't write anything. Was there some reason you didn't include it? Dr. Gory, if you're hiding something under Lord Strongheart's instructions, then sooner or later you're gonna have to the same way as your mother. Oh! Give it here then. Huh? Oh yeah, she just went. What's she scribbling so furiously? The real time of death? There. You've written. What? What's she written? Tell us. Indeterminate. But indeterminate. What does that mean? What do you mean by that? That the time of his death was indeterminate. When a specimen was brought in, it was still fresh. So the time of death could easily have coincided with the gunshot was heard. Unless... But there was just one small discrepancy. What discrepancy? There was some fried fish in the pocket of the specimen's overcoat. Up until his death, the fish and chips went with him till death. Poetic. And that fish had started to rot. What? So yeah, it proves our theory. If the victim liked fried fish, percent they'd like to eat it before it went off. Well, yes. What are you really trying to say? It's possible that someone tried to manipulate the apparent time of death. Manipulate the... Is it even possible to do? Yes. Actually, let me explain. Time lesson. Let me explain. Freezer. Ice. Frozen. Best way to describe it. Theoretically, if you were to chill the body in ice, you could delay the onset of putrefaction. And if the overcoat wasn't on the body at the time, then the fish would have started to rot. With today's science, it's not yet possible to determine if the body was chilled or not. But today's science is advanced enough to let you freeze a corpse, it seems. You can freeze a corpse and it will delay the onset. I mean, why do people freeze their meat? That makes sense, right? But surely to chill a corpse like that would require an enormous electrical refrigerator. I don't imagine many households in London are equipped with such a device. No, definitely not. But maybe in a factory or in special places. I don't recall seeing any factories such like your friend's street, though. I wonder if the spectre's body had been chilled somehow. What might the actual time of death might have been? I couldn't say for sure. But the most that might have been a day earlier. No. In other words, it would corroborate your previous deduction, Mr. Nodahuddle. That Inspector Gregson was killed the day before his body was discovered in a different location. Did you inform your Strongheart of this possibility? He simply said that there was no electrical refrigerators in that size in the vicinity. He's hiding something, that's for sure. Oh yes, one other thing. Something the governor of Barclay Prison told us. He said that your mother, Dr. Scythe, was responsible for confirming the death of the professor after his execution? The professor. Apparently, you always enjoy listening to your mother's stories at work, so you were always wondering if you might know what happened 10 years ago. That's not my mama did. Sorry? My mama carried out the autopsy of Clint Van Zeeks as well. What? Really? The brother of Lord Van Zeeks, the professor's final victim. The idea of carrying an autopsy on a member of the aristocracy... Oh, finally said it for once! It's completely unthinkable back then. But the detective in charge of the investigation insisted it must be actually authorized. Gregson. The detective Inspector Gregson, of course. Quite an accomplishment for one man. That autopsy provided a vital clue needed to arrest the killer. And Mama was there at the historic event. What does all this mean? You know, that amazing autopsy happened right here in this very room. The professor and Clint Van Zeeks. They both spent their final moments before their burial on the section table there. So this lab, Mama's lab, was instrumental in some of the country's most important events. She really is proud of her mother. Excuse me. I wonder if you'd tell us more about exactly what happened back then, Dr. Gore. Up. We're gonna examine this real quick. This looks different from before. Of course it's not Hodo. Miss Gore is a young maiden. There's those charming little dolls in like a workplace. Like, oh yes, you're right. Perhaps it's a necessary after all. They're how I practice. I'm sorry. Mama always says the operation section requires speed and accuracy, so I take out a needle and thread and stitch 3 new dolls each day. Ah, right. I used to make livers or kidneys and intestines, but Mama told me to make something more friendly instead. That's quite different to what I'd imagined. Let's talk. Confirmation of death. The professor's execution was Mama's first big case. She had attendance in Barclay's prison execution chamber and signed a certified to confirm the convict's death. Mama's the best coroner in the world, you know. I was so proud of her. But the execution didn't actually take place. No, and worse still, Mama actually helped with the jailbreak. I didn't want to know. Oh dear, you found out recently, you mean? I believed in her. In Mama, but now I wonder if I'm starting down the same path as her. Aww. You mean because you omitted the time of death in his autopsy report? But that's because we're strong her probation from including it. Just like Mama, I'm sure she was coerced by somebody too. Coerced. Yes, that's my feeling as well. There's no doubt that there was powerful forces at play 10 years ago. The execution could have been staged without a lot of people at the prison knowing about it. Obviously, the prison governor must have been in on it as well. That's true, very likely. The big man with the little handcuffs, according to what he told us. He was tricked by the chief warder. He says he knew nothing about it. Of course he said that. I'd say the same thing. Just who was behind the jailbreak all those years ago? Clint's autopsy. You mentioned the autopsy of Clint Van Zeeks. It was a time when carrying autopsies of murder victims were very unusual. It's still not a practice observed in our country even now. It turned out that he was the professor's final victim, and when the autopsy was performed, Mama was present, although only as a secondary assistant. The person leading the procedure was called Dr. John H. Wilson. That's right, my daddy! And there was one other person present, the primary assistant. He was a visiting student from the Far East. Wait, a visiting student? It must have been my father, Yuji Mikotoba. I had no idea Professor Mikotoba had been involved in something so important. But the outcome of that historic autopsy was the discovery of a vital piece of evidence that led to the capture of the professor. So that's how they came to identify Genshin Sogi as the infamous mass murderer. Do you happen to know anything about the piece of evidence? Can you tell us? Would you like to see the records for yourself? What? Would that be alright? What's the point of keeping records if people can't look at them? True. They're filed under V at the back of the cupboards with the other records of the last decade. Thank you! Oh, I love you. Let's see. Van Zeeks. That's strange. What, Mr. Naruhodo? They aren't here! There's nothing under Van Zeeks! There must be! Perhaps somebody took them away? Maybe it was Strongheart. No, someone's allowed to take documents related to the professor case out of this room. But you're right, they're gone! Well, when was the last time somebody looked at them? Do you remember? It was... Oh yes, I remember now. It was only 2 years ago. A consulting detective came one day, saying that he'd like to see the records. No, you don't mean... Herlock Sholmes was his name. Deep down, I knew that was coming. Do you think he stole the records? Oh no, surely not. Edie, it can't be right, can it? Edie's? Runa, I hope you don't mind, but... What is it, Edie's? I just remember something very important I have to do. I'm gonna have to leave you now. Oh, this is very sudden, Edie's. Well, I gotta leave you then. Oh, no, there's no need. You and Reno take your time here. Bye for now then. Good luck. Oh, Wait a minute, little girl. Me? I remember now. You've been here before, haven't you? Have you, Edis? Yes, 2 years ago when the detective came. You were with him, weren't you? You were a living specimen then, too. That's the way it usually works, yes. Was I? I really don't remember. Anyway, sorry, but I missed Ash. Bye! Wait, Edis! I poop a pie when you get home. Doesn't matter with her. She's behaving really strange all of a sudden. Well, in that case, we won't keep you any longer either. It's been quite a while since I had any visitors. This was really fun. But next time you come, I prefer if you were ready for this section. Can't make any promises, sorry. It's a bit strange that the records claim Van Zieg's autopsy had disappeared, but I think we've also... So, let's go back to Fresno Street. We're back here again. The police are still busy investigating in here. But Gina's nowhere to be seen. Where is she? Yes, but wait, what's that case down there? Listen, perhaps she's out investigating her own, practicing her outsider? I thought she'd be back for long. Shall we wait? Actually, there's something new. There's something different in this room. Try to investigate. So, it's the luggage. Let's check that out, shall we? This little trunk wasn't here before, was it? Wait, there's a slash on it. Oh, it appears to be made of metal. It must be very heavy. I wonder to whom it belongs. Maybe it's Gregson's? That's the only explanation I have. Why is it there? It's kind of odd. There's some initials on the outside. Look. TG. Let's ask one of the policemen that came here. Oi! What do you think you're doing? Hey. That's me drunk, that is. And hands off. Gina! Where are you hiding? I don't know. You leave something unattended for a few seconds and every Tom, Dick and Harry's got the greedy eyes on it. Just a wild guess, Gina, but... What? Spit it out, Otto. It's fair to say that you've only owned the trunk since this morning's trial. What? What are you trying to say? Come on, this trunk's got with me everywhere, always has. When have you been in last year? I didn't see it anywhere. Try not to incur your wrath, mainly. Your boss. Should have added a talking in the yard now. They should have been ashamed of themselves. They're saying that it was the boss who killed all of them bundlers. You mean the whole Reaper thing? Yeah. Apparently, the boss was investigating stuff that no one else at the yard knew nothing about. Stuff to do with all them criminals what got off scot-free. Yes, the ones prosecuted by Lord Van Zieks who uses bribery and corruption to evade conviction. Well, then obviously, there was a blooming Reaper giving the orders, wasn't it? But why would people be suspecting Inspector Gregson of being involved in the killings? There was a notebook hidden in his office. Oh no, this doesn't sound good. It had details about all the crimes that have been pegged as the Reaper's work. What? No, did you see it, Gina? Did you see that notebook? They wouldn't. Flamey let me, because I'm an apprentice apparently. Those who found it, and he was my boss. That's right. I was pretty miffed about it, so I sneaked a peek of what they said anyway. Oh, that's our Gina. That's our Gina. Yeah, that's our girl. All right, secret notebook. What do you got? So you managed to see what was written in Gregson's secret notebook anyway, did you? Well, I see. It's my right to read what he wrote. True. And what do you have written, Gina? Dates, times, places, names, and an all long list of them. All details about the bunch that are supposed to have been done in by the Reaper. But there could have been an explanation for that. Perhaps it was a record of Inspector's investigations to Reaper's activities. Exactly. That's what I said. That's the first thing you think, right? As it appears, it was full of names I recognized anyway. Well, the Reaper's targets were almost exclusively known leaders of the criminal underworld. Well, yeah, but there was one name that right at the end that was a bit odd. In the end of the list, you mean? I'm pretty sure the date against it was 31st of October. Oh, the day before the inspector was found dead! So what was the odd name? Yeah, it wasn't like a name I've ever seen before. It was something like, Nah, it's no good. I can't remember it. I don't think it was an English name to put it that way. Was it Japanese by any chance? Oh dear, what a pity. There was something else too. I don't know if it matters, but the same name kept coming up over and over. What name? Shin. It was. Don't suppose it means anything, but... Did you say... Shin? Eh? What? Does it mean something? Lord Van Zix knew the name too. He mentioned her as well. The woman who actually did the deeds. And now we found that her name appears in Gregson's secret notebook. Your investigations. We haven't seen you in a little while, have we, Gina? Well, of course not. We've been busy, ain't I? Investigating the net. The lads at the yard are trying to trace the boss's movements the day before it happened. The day before? That would have uncovered the investigation we had to lead in. Wait, the boss didn't go, did he? You found some cove. What was pretending to be him, didn't you? Oh, no. Yes. Mr. Vigil. Yes, it was Mr. Vigil who actually went to the park in Lime Street that day posting as Gregson. Well, anyway, you ain't the only one turning stuff up. I've got me own ways of getting results. Toby! When I've invited her here together, there's nothing we can track down. Toki Patootie! Oh, little Toby, such a faithful friend. I love it. So, have you tracked anything down then, Toby? You and Toby? What do you think, eh? What is we have? Can't you tell, though? Police business, ain't it? Anyway, the point is, if you lot ever need any help, you know who to turn to, right? Me and Hellhound here. Right. Guess he looks so hellish, honestly. He's so adorable, but little bitch. Gina, about your Hellhound there. He's so adorable! Oh, Chief Inspector Toby, you mean? He's the pride of the force, he is. Oh. In Japanese, police dog means something quite different, and not altogether nice to those involved in crime. But here in Britain, it's a wonderful compliment, it seems, for a canine at least. It should be. After all, in the Greg's eviction case the other day, it was Toby here who managed to locate Drebber's in the workshop. Yeah, what a cutie. Maybe it's time for another demonstration of what the super dog can do, eh? Do we have something that Chief Inspector would catch the sense, I wonder? So, okay. So let's see, we're gonna, so you can present either of these things. You can present either the red hair piece, the police van figurine, Gregson's pocket watch, or the inspector's identification. We're gonna go with the inspector's identification, but really, again, you can choose either of these items. It doesn't matter, but we're gonna go with the inspector's identification. Well, Chief Inspector Toby, if you wouldn't mind having a sniff of this. He might be a little too keen, don't you think? Chief Inspector made short work of Gina there. Ah, look what he's gone to. Oh my, that trunk clearly has very strong scent because it's Inspector Gregson's scent. Yeah, in other words, it must have belonged to him. Alright, it's fair cop, I suppose. And you nearly got away with it too, huh? Toby here. You always talk so proudly of Chief Inspector Toby's nose and what he can achieve. It did not cross your mind that you might identify something right next to us? Yeah, it was a bit of a bloomer or whatever. That's enough for now then, Gina. Eh? I think it's time you told us the truth about that trunk. The metal trunk. What's that trunk about? It wasn't like that. It just what? What are you talking about? I know I was going through the head of yours, but I didn't know what happened. Alright then. What did happen? Well, like I said before, we were trying to trace the boss's movements. So I let Toby here have a whiff of the boss's overcoat. And as soon as I done that, he went off like a shot. Straight to that sandwich. So that sandwich, not a big fat bag of chips. Mr. Narahodo, I believe Gina means the witness. Oh, I forgot about that sandwich. Yeah, and in between them wooden borders it is that boss's trunk. Oh, you mean when they heard the sound like the gunshot piled in here? Exactly, he nodded from the scene. Goodness! Me and the Chief Inspector gave the sandwich a good grilling, and you know what he said. I thought it might fetch a good price, and then Jack would be needing it anymore, so, because he did. But that's all they did, nothing more, nothing less. What is wrong with it? Even check out of it, eh? Stealing the dead boss's stuff to flog. So Miss Venus wasn't the only one to meddle with the scene of the crime, then. How could they? Because they're poor. So anyway, that's how it happened. And it's a pretty decent trunk, so I figured I might as well make a use of it. And there is something wrong with that, eh? Well, maybe you and Mr. Sandwich should try to find an answer to the question together. Toby is adorable. I think perhaps that trunk should have turned over to the police, don't you? What are you on about? I am the police! Gina, if you wouldn't mind, could we maybe examine it real quick? Yeah, alright then. Do what you want with it. Thank you. We've received a detailed record of examination evidence. Oh no. What's the matter with Toby? Why is he acting so aggressively towards me all of a sudden? Mr. Naruto, be careful! It must be the trunk! Oh, Toby! Oh, what are you doing? You're gonna lick his face off! Mr. Naruto! Mr. Naruto! Gina, quickly! Hail a carriage! Oh, Mr. Naruto, you're right! Miss Susato? Ah, conscious again at last, so please relieve my dear fellow. After all, drop dead at a moderate licking of small terrier. Most unseemly. What is seemingly relevant here, Mr. Sholmes? Looks like there's no lasting damage. How are you feeling? I'm fine, thank you. Bit slobbery. Did you bring me back here? Ah, what's this on my head? A bandage? Sadly, we had no ice, so that's a compressed sugar water. Sugar water. Don't worry, Miss Naruto. It was the first aid treatment my father taught me. Oh, thank you. So let's take the tea if we want to. But of course, no sugar in a patient's cup. Ugh, the bump on my head is probably sweetly enough, don't worry. Whatever you feel ready then. Alright, so if you talk to, if you go ahead and talk to Gina immediately after, if you go back, you have to, when given the choice, you have to go back over, go right back to Francis Street Room, then talk to Gina, and then that's when you get an achievement called the best chips in town. So you go find her. And, yeah. Here's what happens. I already got the achievement, so, but if you're playing along, you can get the achievement by doing this. Gina, I'm really sorry. Staff, didn't it? If you ask me, a year ago, the cops could go hang about all I get her. But we've got that police, ain't we, to catch the budgets. So us divers can go about the business of beasts. Wait, sorry? I don't think I can have heard that properly. He said it was gonna teach me everything I needed to know to be a detective. Oh, I got around. Show me what the best flaming fish and chip shops are. Actually, that reminds me. Gregson said you were supposed to be going to Paris in the near future, didn't he? Is something wrong? Oh, no, I'm sure I'm reading too much into this. It's just that the timing seems very coincidental. You know, the boss was acting a bit strange recently. Like he was always in a rush. Bro. But you get the achievement if you do that. But yeah, if you do that, you get the achievement. But now let's go back. So let's go back to Sholmes' suite. Shall we? We're at the end. What happened here? What on earth is going on in here? And then having a bad dream? Ah, no, it's an old German folk song. I'd rather find rendition, I think. That's the least of my concerns. Edie's. Edie's? What's the matter? Who's that sprawling? I mean that relaxed gentleman over there. I think I know who that is. Edie's, is she even listening? Excuse me, sir. I do apologize for troubling you whilst you're singing merrily, but would you be kind enough to explain the situation? Nah, he's asleep. Well, that worked. A curling gentleman and a mute young girl. A rather tantalizing juxtaposition. And one that appears to have incited the gods of deduction within me to find their voices too. Mr. Schultz, do you mean? The strains of reasoning within me are plain as a telepathy. One melody sings a reed full of nostalgia. Whilst one other is more sort of a secret you're trying desperately to conceal from us. Why is the broken pot turns white as a sheet? So as usual, you recently seemed very hard of the matter. And by the time brief performance is over, I feel it's just a song and just finale. But in music land, where all sweetness and delicacy and harmony. Pray, do you enjoy her Schultz's logic and reasoning spectacular? The great deduction. The game's afoot. Alright, here we go. Firstly, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly he's a German with a grasp of English language. As I was by a German song he sings and apparent ability to understand the text. Nah, that's the gramophone. So why is the man here at all in such apparent high spirits? The answer, of course, Hades, is clearly known to you. Indeed, we need to follow the gaze of the bright young eyes that reveal the particular part of mystery. The reason is probably gonna prove a bit of herbal tea. Nah, it's not that. She obviously offered him a German guest a cup of your latest herbal blend. Indeed, like the flavor made of man's spirit sore. And resulted in his joyful, dirty-tummy fizzy lips. I eagerly await sampling flavor myself, and I will enjoy the fellow in the state of elation. Now to the next question. Who exactly is the gentleman availing himself to this seat? So as it happens, a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services to solve a particular delicate case. He required to reveal letters once sent to an acquaintance that might prove problematic. In order to conceal his known identity, he arrived in an office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Again! Again! Isn't that the same name as the kid? Isn't that the same fucking name? I swear to God, isn't that the same name? Please tell me I'm wrong. Was Wilhelm Gosreich Sigismund von Amstein. I can't say it. Shit! The King of Germany. That obviously is a name that we know, but it's not that name. The memory serves the mask wearing the gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question. It's the King of Germany. No. Very much remembers the fine service I offered him. So decides to face a good mask and all, with his gratitude. No matter monarch indeed, wouldn't you agree, my dear fellow? The identity of this man's visitor, in fact, my former client, the King of Germany. The son of the currently in London Zoo enjoying the Wonder Super exhibition. Man's identity, the King of Germany. Nah, bro. Girl, silence. Which leaves us to one remaining improbable. Yes, you, young ladies. And your apparently acceptable sounds unable to hide the truth. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside the knapsack. £5 note, I believe. I must say, your compatriot deeply sad. It would appear you allowed yourself to be bribed and silenced by His Royal Highness, earning yourself a spying money exchange and keeping quiet about a king's secret. And now, the final piece of the puzzle. What's the secret you strive to hide with your silence, Edie's? Ah, yes, we need about a brief and voluntary twitch of the eyes, my answer. You were to with a coffee cup. My favorite coffee cup, in fact. Or should I say, the handle of my favorite coffee cup. It appears that His high-spirited highness broke into the hijinks, which leads us to a sad truth. I don't think any of that is right. My coffee cup is broken by the King of Germany, Anides! You tried to conceal it from me! I shall have a bill sent via governmental channels and girl of full replacement. So having a coffee cup dots conceal her election's great deduction of this painful puzzle. Nah. Let's solve that, shall we? I have a feeling I know what it is, and it ain't. With your silence as well, the fellow's jovial warbling rather rings in the ears, does it not? Mr. Sholmes, I must say something does rather trouble me. Pray, Mrs. Seto, do tell. His Royal Highness doesn't appear to have moved a muscle since we arrived. Ah, and you have said a word either, Edie's. Mr. Sholmes has it right, he was well up to it now. Everything is entirely without substance, I must admit. And then what I think, Mr. Sholmes? Yet another grievance is not at all? Surely not. Well, I actually read the story of that case recently, the one you were just describing, and according to the latest, it wasn't the king of Germany, it was the king of Bohemia. Goodness, was it? Yes, that's quite true. Master Gotz, the prince, testified to that in court. In his words, I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. I would ask to keep that minor error to yourselves. It could become quite a scandal. I believe Mr. Nadahodo. That is our turn to make the connections, Marissa Popsy. Yeah, let's go for it. Just finding something, we need to find the truth behind the mysterious scene. But one truth is comfortable, my favorite coffee cup is no more. So, shall we bark again? I join spectacular elections, logic reasoning spectacular. Course correction. Now hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Alright, here we go. Man's identity. Here we go. So, let's get to it. So we have the gentleman's nationality, definitely not German for sure. What he says is supposed to be the mask, apparently, which is not true. It's the herbal tea. I like to hear you singing, but this man has his own keep that tune, I suppose. Well, I said it's like the entire time the closely lips are moving either. Some knives are supposed to spirit singing, but suspect the answer lies in his gaze. It's the gramophone, obviously. Wait, this is the gramophone. It's rarely seen in our own country. I saw it appear from the horn. But a machine singing? That can't be right. Science and technology are changing the world rapidly. Mr. Host tries changing too. Oh, it's too much for my brain. Well, at least I found the answer. Take that! So, of course, it's the gramophone. The reason the man's mildly irritable warbling is revealed by the gramophone. Indeed, well, the big red gentleman would break into obscure folk song making social call. What is that folk song? Actually, I want to know. If someone knows German, please tell me in the comments if you know what the song is. Seriously, I want to know. But not in fact, the gentleman doesn't sing at all, in fact. It would appear that the fellow is unconscious. And it stopped. Ah, the music seemed to have stopped now. Why was it playing German folk song? I don't understand. I ask you, Miss Nadahodo. Yes? Why would I purchase a recording of that gibberish? How should I know? Well, never mind. On the deduction. Who exactly is the gentleman availing himself to receive? As it happens a number of years ago, so we have that. Let's go to the next statement, shall we? Wilhelm, the king of Germany, king of Bohemia. The king of Germany. Nah, it belonged to Cosmo. We know that mask. We've seen it before. And he was also wearing a mask. Don't remind me or anyone else. Because you're supposed all members of the aristocracy of men let Europe wear a mask. Oh, I finally said it right. Sure, probably anyway. Point is, the mask doesn't belong to any king. Nope, that's right. We know exactly who. The true owner is Kazuma. Take that! Kazuma Asogi's mask. Yeah, duh. The mask that he was forced to wear. There it is. Yes, there's been no question. The mask belongs to Kazuma Asogi. In other words, the memory is sublime and unreliable. Only you could try to make that sound positive. Kazuma's mask had been lying in the metal chest for several days. Though doesn't explain why the gentleman was wearing it now. But it's a simple matter to determine our guest's true identity. After all, the gentleman's unconscious. We need to only excuse yourselves in advance, gently lift the mask up beneath. I don't believe it. Ah! Fodder! I'm afraid, Mrs. Soto, you must be mistaken. No! I think not, Mr. Schultz. Then it would appear our logical reasoning is only against reveal the truth. This mysterious visitor. Captain. Is my unconscious father, Eugene Mikatoba. Logic of reasoning or just looking and saying? Eugene Mikatoba. So next is gonna be the girl's silence. Let's see. Which leads us to the remaining problem you'll notice. Notice how the chest is open. But your apparently civil silence is hide the truth. It's actually he's hiding something. It's not the knapsack, that's for sure. Yeah, there's papers there, but that's a lot of pounds. Metal chest is open. Metal chest? Important documents. Agent Jones worked over the years. Written of 80s if I remember correctly. Sitting and kept locked all the times everyone showed me. It was valuable, I suppose. But look at it now, it's open. The cat's unlocked for once. Ah, so it is! That's what does more. Very. It's just unlocked before. It's the metal chest. So it's obviously the chest, which is the only explanation.
Take that!
There we go. Yes, the reason your meaning is concealed inside the metal chest. Excellent observation, for upon close inspection there's something different in the chest's appearance. It's unlocked. All I did now, the catch is open. Evidently this has something to do with the refusal to speak English. But it's simple enough matter to decide to speak, I'm sure. I really need to open the chest! Here we go. No! Hurley, don't! What the fuck? Mr. Schultz! He's dead? Never? Oh, Hurley, I told you not to open it. Ah, so you found your voice now, Edie's. Ah! In other words, what just happened reveals the truth here. Yes, the real reason your silence is until now is... So we're gonna do it ourselves. It's more different usual dance induction performance Mr. Schultz. Well, he's left the room. I'm gonna have to dance this part solo anyway. Mr. Sato, sometimes a man needs to point his finger to think first and think later. Oh well, if you say so. Sometimes a man needs to point his finger first and think later. It's the scheme. Here we go. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is that key behind your back. Ha! Mr. Schultz was thrown into the air before. Just before you call to try to stop you, slip something out of your mouth. The something is the key in your hands, no doubt in the chest. You're so clever, Runa. So now it becomes clear. Thanks to Mr. Schultz's graphic demonstration. We can all imagine what happened here. But Professor Mikatoba also by the metal chest only to be punched in the air. Why was that there? And Lance sprawled in the seat. But wait, that doesn't explain all the facts. What about the stylish scarf? And the cup of tea? Why would he be wearing Kazuma-sama's mask? Well, for curious details, make only explanation. Clearly an unbelievable miracle took place in this room. Isn't that right, Hughes? Consider how the room was arranged before this whole experience took place. Professor Mikatoba, the chest completely unaware when it waited him inside. The mask was flung in the air just as he was, only to be neatly in his face and it fell back down. And the teacup journeyed through the air and ended up in the unconscious professor's fingers. Or he was holding it. You mean to say the stylish scarf is actually just a tablecloth? This is a great detective's office after all, place miraculous deductions. You would expect anything else? Anything less? Yes, you're right. It's exactly as it was. Brilliant, Runo. Plus concludes you're just getting out of host great deduction. Up this punchy puzzle. make a fresh patty for all of us. Oh no! An admirable performance, Mr. Naruhodo. It ain't over. But in the final act of show, he rather missed something important. Mr. Sholmes! We have a cast right back at the early election. Idiot's clearly hiding a great secret. Ah! Is she? Yes, from the look on her face. Mr. Sholmes must be right. So we're going to stick in the bag. Put it again. You were tempting enough sound with the coffee cup. It was really sure Mr. Sholmes' cup. Such a person to open the chest. Oh, tears when he makes a bit broken here. So we know that it's not that, but there is something that definitely is very obvious when we really think about it. Because the sizable bag doesn't carry things around out of size bags before. So I'm talking over the limelight, I mean. I really don't know what to say. Oh! A case file. Ah, look, there's case of papers. He's trying to do tray. It's like Signal, Mr. Naruhodo. So Scotland Yard. What do these have? Ask her. Official Scotland Yard. So, yep, the case file. There we go. Got it? You are tempted to abscond with the case file. It is, as you know very well, nothing escapes the attention of a great detective. Oh no. We visited Scotland Yard autopsy laboratory earlier today, and Dr. Gorey informed us that the autopsy report of Clint Van Zeeks had gone missing. Clint Van Zeeks? Yes, I seem to recall. That some years ago I asked to see the report to question you with me, weren't you, Edis? You mean it was you, Edis? Those papers you have there. I'm sorry. Forgive me! To hide the case file. Concluded. Deduction complete. Elementary, my dear child. I like to have thought of a predicted booby-trapped chest. If I caught up control of guard, I was very nearly the late concluding. I'm sorry, Harley. So you mean the autopsy report really is? Yes, I took it in the lab. Even was there something in the trouble, you Edis? Not exactly. It's just something I've been looking for. When I saw this report, when I saw the writing in it, I knew it was Daddy's. Is that writing? Your father's writing? Do you really mean that? It must be something that's hard to talk about. Forgive me for interrupting, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes, what is it? I feel as though the poor unconscious gentleman was sweet his soul forgotten. Ah, the father! Perhaps we should, I guess, somewhere more peaceful rest. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes. Would you be so kind to lend me your bed? If we must be comfortable. Oh, yes, of course. I'll help carry him up. So will I. No, I can imagine. Oh, thank you. You have to enjoy. We wouldn't want Edie's Brutus to do. Because there's no better way to make a professor comfortable dragging him upstairs like a trunk. I wonder, perhaps this is deliberate. Maybe Mr. Sholmes making himself scarce to give Edie a chance to talk more freely? We must use the opportunity to talk with Edie's and find out what's going on. Your daddy. Would you like to tell us about Edie's, about your father? I'm sure I told you before, didn't I? The daddy used to be Hurley's partner. Yes, the notes of the case they solved together were behind inside metal chest. That's right. Hurley told me, you see. He said that Daddy's somewhere far away now, so we can't meet. That's one way of describing it. Then, I secretly unlocked the chest. I read through the papers inside. I started to build up a picture in my head what Daddy must be like. Oh, what's so unnatural? You're just like any other girl your age. I read that Daddy was a professor of medical science, so I studied and took my degree too. Well, that's only natural. So wait, let me get this straight. You're 10 years old and you did a 10-year degree that basically, like being a medical professional takes 10 fucking years. Let me tell you that. I know because I have family members that are in that field. So let me tell you, bro. So basically, you were born a fucking medical. You literally started when you were like 1. Seriously, think of that. In that respect, you're not going like any other girl of your age now. But there was only one thing I couldn't find out. Daddy's name. Ah, his name wasn't anywhere in the notes that he'd made work with Hurley. But then one day, that's what happened, is it? When you saw the autopsy report, you finally managed to work it out, is that right? Yes, so it was the handwriting in the report that caught her eye. Autopsy report. When I saw the writing on the report, I could hardly believe it. I know that handwriting, I thought to myself, because it was the same writing you see in your father's case notes? Exactly. I was desperate to compare the two properly. I needed to see them side to side. I asked the doctor in the laboratory, but I was told I couldn't take the report away. And even worse, I was told that the first and last time we weren't allowed to even look at it there. So he decided to steal it. When I compared the autopsy report to case notes I had here, there was no doubt. The handwriting was exactly the same. It was Daddy's. And the signature in the corner at the bottom of the autopsy report read Dr. John H. Wilson. So that's how I finally found out. I learned Daddy's name at last. I see. Ever since then, I call myself Edith Wilson. And that's also when I had the brilliant idea of writing stories all about Daddy's exciting times with Hurley. I decided there would be written the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, Edith, I had an idea story so deep personal significance for you. I can see why the autopsy report is so important to her now. And why she is prepared to break the law to get her hands on it. I must apologize, Edith. This is really my fault. Hurley? I made a promise, you see. Didn't I was right. I just keep details for your father a secret. I know, I've been very naughty. Take the autopsy report. Back to your gory apologies, I promise. Yes, we'll go there together, I think. Then, let me look after your identity. Clint's autopsy report. Then added. I must go and water my herbs, I think. I'll see you all later. Poor Edie, she must be feeling awful. I know Mr. Sholmes is here for her, but still. Ah! What? How? That's the meaning of this, Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes? Oh, dear me. So, you've noticed it, I see. But that would mean... What on earth's the matter, Mrs. Ethel? You turned white as a sheet. It's not autopsy report, Mr. Nighthawk. This one from 10 years ago. The writing. Isn't Dr. Wilson at all? Huh? What do you mean? How do you possibly know that? Because I know this writing very well. This writing is my father's. What? Professor Mikatoba's. Indeed, it's true. And now you know. My dear fellows. No, I didn't know anything. Why on earth does it all mean, Mr. Sholmes? Because the idea that's slowly forming in my mind is just too extraordinary to believe. Please, you have to explain. The autopsy report writing. So, this autopsy report was actually penned by Professor Mikatoba then. But that makes no sense. It's not possible, surely. Not possible? My dear fellow, pray to the think again. Yes, you're right. In some ways, it actually makes a great deal of sense. It does? It does, actually. 10 years ago, is my father returned to Japan after his extended study tour in Britain. And prior to his return, where was Dr. Mikatoba engaged? Ah, of course! He was assistant in Dr. Wilson's laboratory learning about forensic science. And as an assistant, he would have aided the dissection work, making detailed notes, which would be assembled with the autopsy report. Once the work was complete, the head coroner would check the contents and put his signature on the document. It happens. It's very common. It's very common practice. In other words, only writing Dr. Wilson, the report would be his signature at the end. I see. So Edith got the wrong end of the stick, you mean? She saw that and assumed the whole report had been written by Dr. John H. Wilson. Anyway, which is very understandable, of course. Yeah, it's very understandable. What a complicated situation. So, updated. It's gonna be important for later. Who really was your partner? It was Mikatova, wasn't it? Thinking about it, most of what we knew about your Mr. Sholmes comes from the published stories of your exploits. Yes, the adventures of her lost children by Edie's. Oh, you're hiding shit, aren't you? And we really have no way of knowing what's fact and what's fiction. Most troubling for you, my dear fellow, I'm sure. So what about the supposed partner of yours? Did he really exist or not? Ah, you've come straight to the point, I see. And please come straight to the answer. I believe Edie's explained it in one of his installments. He was a trusted comrade, and the only person I could trust, truly call him a friend. And this could truly make a record of all your cases? Are his notes really stored inside that metal chest? Absolutely, my dear madam. Absolutely. So, where's your partner now? We rarely met. You see, he lives on the other side of the world. But if this autopsy report and the records of your old cases were penned by the same hand, and if the autopsy report was written though not signed by your famous partner, there would only be one logical conclusion. It's Mikatova. Eugene Mikatova. Pray, impress me. Your partner would have been Eugene Mikatova. In other words, Miss Suseto's father. Upon my word, Miss Naruto. Yes? You are coming along wonderfully. You have hit upon the method at last. You finally grasped the art of deduction. You mean to say... Allow me to introduce you to my great friend and partner, Mikatova. Professor Mikatova! So he's basically the Wilson in this. That's amazing. Sholmes and Mikatova. Oh, that's amazing. Does this mean that you're the real Dr. Wilson? No, my dear. I'm still my old self. You can Mikatova to your father. Oh, of course. This is obviously too much to take in. I must say, though, how my old friend has attained worldwide celebrity has a great mystery solver is the greatest mystery of all. I still remember the first time we met. Ah, pray reminds me. What was it again, Mikatova? 16 years ago, Sholmes. Ah, yes, quite. 16 years ago. I just arrived from Japan with Shido and Genshin. I was in search of lodgings close to the hospital, some comfortable rooms at a reasonable price, for rents are devilishly high in a particular area. That's right. So I decided to end up with someone to share lodging expense. And was fortunate enough to introduce to Sholmes, who found himself in a similar situation. I was a fellow back then, a mere shadow of the great detective you see before you now. I was working in the hospital's chemical laboratory at the time, indulging my curiosities for a little game. And the situation of our cohabitation led us to pursuing cases together, you see. Hard to believe, it was a mere 6 years. We had a great many adventures. Oh my god! But in the last year, Mikatova stayed in Britain. That most infamous of cases presented itself. So that's why it's so important to Sholmes. The case of which you've become rather familiar yourselves. The Professor killings. Yes. After the trial, Shishido and I were summoned back home. Hardly surprising, given the circumstances. So there you have it. And as you know, all the details recorded by my trusty chronologer remained in the metal chest. This is just amazing! Professor Mikatova really is Mr. Sholmes' famous partner. It was actually foreshadowed from the very beginning when you think about it. It was foreshadowed because, you know, like, remember the first game with, like, how Susato knew about the Hound of the Baskervilles story? It was published. It was in his office. Yeah, that was basically the first hint of it. Essentially. Father. Goodness, my dear, what a cutting look! Oh no. As your daughter, I'm very proud to learn that you were my detective's great partner. But nevertheless, there's another mystery that I really must ask you to explain now. And that is... You know very well what it is. The unresolved matter of Edie's father. Of course! I almost forgotten about that one. I should have seen this coming, I suppose. Edie's father. Who is her father? Her real father. Edie's told us that all the notes of Great Detective's adventures in her little chest were written by her father. Isn't that correct, Mr. Sholmes? That is indeed what I told young Edie's. But if you're Mr. Sholmes' partner father and you wrote his case notes, then Edie's father must be you! Ah! upon my word, Mrs. Sato. You were coming along wonderfully as well. You too have hit upon method at last. You finally crossed art of deduction. What? What you always told me, Father, is that my mother died when I was born 16 years ago, and you left me in grandmother's care whilst you embarked on your study tour in Britain, and you've always accepted that. But all this about Edie's. Oh, there it is. It's just those ice cold stare. No, now hold on a minute. It was very complicated. I mean, it's really not what you think. Then perhaps you'd like to explain exactly what it is. There it is. Now the eyes of ice cold red hot just before she. No, really. Got the rocket to the stick. Show him, say something, man. That's quite enough, my fiery fellows. Mr. Sholmes, when did you get all dressed up? Well, as I don't like to interrupt this exciting exploration of the past, Mikatoba and I have an urgent matter to require a short excursion. It's very late, Mr. Sholmes. Where you must go? Why, my dear madam, is not obvious. My partner and I must pursue our natural enemy. So get your cup, Mikatoba. The game is afoot. Sholmes! I really must give this a full explanation, I think. Later, my dear fellow, later. Our carriage awaits downstairs already. You haven't changed one iota, have you? I mean, really. Visit our home after 10 long years. And when I open the chest in fit of nostalgia, I quite inexplicably pass out. And as if that wasn't enough, when I eventually regained consciousness, I plunged straight into all of this. Father, please. Go, Mr. Schultz. What? Bro, I have no doubt of whatever happened. You're acting as in your best interest. I trust you. Completely. Susato. And sending the great detective a great partner off in renewed adventures together is more than I could ever hope to wildest dreams. Very well. So, I believe your work is done for today. I wish you the best of luck for tomorrow. Yes, Naruhodo. Good luck in battle. A decision about whether we go back to Japan, I suppose.
So much happened that day that I barely knew what to do with myself. It would only be later that I'd come to realize how amidst the chaos I'd unleashed were all the clues I needed to finally unearth the truth, and that all the turmoil was necessary to give me the resolve to see everything through.
Okay, so that's the end of this episode. Holy shit, what a long one. Alright, so anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please comment, bless, and next time, we're gonna go ahead and start the final episode. The finale. It's gonna begin. So it's gonna be a long one. Get prepared for a few episodes. Get ready for maybe like three episodes. So like, you know, get ready for that possibly. But yeah. See you guys then. Bye.